I genuinely believe that protocols are the new institutions. Like protocols will be larger than any bank, any software company, any big company that is out there, any Web2 company. Protocols will eventually be bigger than them.
We need to go out to the real world and actually you need to have control of these businesses to transform them. That is abundantly clear to me. And you go even talk to a lot of the major companies in the space, the Ripples, the Coinbase Commerces of the world. They're like, the tech is kind of there, but no one cares.
Skale is the blockchain that is simply built different. Other L1 networks have costly transaction fees, clunky user experiences, and lack true adoption in AI and on-chain gaming. Explore the gas-free ecosystem at skale.space/ecosystem and follow their journey on X at Skale Network. That is Skale with a K. Hit the link in the show notes to get started. Let's face it, building on crowded L1s or expensive L2s is just not going to unlock the next generation of applications. Super Containers offers dedicated, customizable app spaces running on Supra's 500 KTPS layer 1 blockchain, giving you complete control over gas tokens and fees. Get notified when Super Containers are ready for builders at supra.com/containers. Tired of losing track of all your tokens? Uniswap Wallet is designed to easily manage, store, and swap your crypto all in one place. Access thousands of tokens across Ethereum and more than 10 other chains instantly by using Uniswap's wallet today. Download it today. It's available on Chrome, iOS, and Android. Hit the link in today's show notes to get started. What's up?
Hello, everyone. It's been a while.
Yeah, tough. I'm an eternal optimist, so I always think that we can keep our podcast schedule going when we do these conferences.
Right.
Did you shave your beard? Do you just have a Fu Manchu? Oh, no, the lighting.
What is it? A Fu Manchu?
A Fu Manchu? Because the way the light was hitting your...
Wait, what made you think that...
The right side of your face, yeah, right there. It looked like there was no beard because the light is like shining down on it. So
I thought about shaving. I'm like, it's winter. I should definitely not shave.
Nah, grow it out.
I look like. Have you seen those animals that have like a bear? Google bear without hair. Oh my god.
So what's the lesson for us and our personal grooming behaviors? I think we need more hair. Oh God, look at that parrot.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. Great question, sir. Really, it doesn't really matter what you think. It matters what your significant other thinks in your situation. So, as much as you want to think about what you do or what you don't do, I don't think you have much of a choice here.
That's true.
We have an hour and 15. Yano just told me he has what I heard, the most important pitch that he's ever had. Yesterday, I'm in Amsterdam, in case you haven't noticed. I was at a conference and someone said, "Hey, Yano's building an empire over there." I'm like, have you noticed the name of the podcast?
Let's go. Let's go.
So we got an hour 15. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, we did no prep. I actually think some of our best apps are no prep. So we could talk about. So we launched our advisory business. Sometimes I feel like sometimes people like the behind the scenes of that. So we could talk about that. We came off permissionless. So I can give like a very honest, I think, my take on the conference. Like there were good things, but I mean there were bad things. Like the attendees were like smaller than I thought it was going to be. So like I can get very honest with that if people find that helpful.
Let's switch roles. Most of the time, I'm doing the talking. I'm going to do most of the questions in this episode because
scary.
All right, just Santi should let Yano talk. So I hear you. We're going to do that this episode. So okay, let's start from the top. Permissionless. Give me a rundown. What was the expectation? Number of attendees? Highlights? Lowlights?
Okay, so I think I will risk being too honest and too open here, but I think it ends up being helpful because we get feedback from people about we're actually currently figuring out permissionless for our 2025 strategy. So at the risk of being too open, I will be too open, but I would ask for people to give me feedback about what they want to see for permissionless next year. So permissionless, to set the scene, conferences are a really tough business model because you have to outlay all this cash up front. and you're basically taking a bet on where you think the industry is going and what type of cycle that we'll be in at that time. So when we're booking conferences, it's not like it's, the beginning of the year and it's January and we're like, "Hey, let's go host an event in Salt Lake City. Great, let's book the venue in Salt Lake." We have to book these things years in advance. So our events team right now is pushing us to book. They have a contract for 2026 and they're pushing us to figure out 2027 venues. So if you think about that, that means it's not about actually signing a venue. We have to think about what's the size of the market in 2027. Are we going to be in a bull market? Will we be in a bear market? So one of our advisors is Matt Hogan. Matt was like, "Look, we basically went to Matt. We were like, we want to there's like a Bitcoin track and like a macro track and a DeFi track." And Matt gave us the advice. He said, "Look, go all in on DeFi. Just pick a niche and try to own it." And we picked the right niche, actually. So in 2021, we launched this big DeFi conference and hosted it in 2022. And that was the right thing to do. We had 5,500 attendees. There were probably several thousand more who like came down, and it was it was like an amazing event. The problem with picking DeFi is that doing a DeFi conference in the US was amazing in 2022. In 2023, we got absolutely smoked because when Gensler and the SEC and all those folks are cracking down on crypto, guess what? Guess what else happens? Stani says, "You want me to come to the US and speak at a US crypto conference?" Kane says, "You want me to sponsor?" The general counsel at Uniswap says, "Hayden, you think I'm letting you go on stage? You think I'm letting Uniswap sponsor a booth at a US crypto conference?" Yeah, right. So 2023, 40% of our speakers said 40% of our usual speakers said no and dropped out. And probably 70% of our sponsors, their legal teams wouldn't let them sponsor. So that was a real low for us. 2023 permissionless was tough. Okay, 2024, my takeaway from permissionless was it was a much smaller conference than I think we originally wanted to have. And that, like when I envisioned permissionless at the beginning, it was kind of like consensus, token, ETH Denver, big field. So we ended up only, and I put quotes around only, we ended up only having a couple thousand attendees, which I was very nervous about going into it because, we were coming off the back of Token 2049 at 20,000. It's like, oh my God, if we only have a couple thousand, everyone's going to think we're this tiny event. It actually had an inverse effect, which was, Token, I'll give a lot of love to Token because Alex and the Token team just do a world-class job hosting conferences. But the industry has gotten, I think, a little bit, not the industry, but like some people, when you come off a crazy Asia trip, you're very tired, right? You don't want to go to a 20,000 person conference anymore. You just kind of want to be with your friends and industry executives. And so the byproduct of all the Asia travel in Singapore in September was that people loved the intimacy of permissionless, I think. We do NPS scores of both attendees and sponsors. We're getting some of the best feedback we've ever had in the history of hosting conferences.
So I'm hearing small, intimate, high NPS. People felt that the quality of the conversations was high. The panels, from what I could see, I haven't seen the videos, seemed like really good discussions. Just the format as well, more debates. It's an election year, so you had politicians there. So how was that? Like, anything interesting on the political front that surfaced in conversations or just in the panels themselves?
Yeah, maybe I can pull this tweet up from Senator Mike Lee. So this is Senator Mike Lee. He's the sitting senator from Utah. So we had both Mike Lee as well as Congressman John Curtis. John Curtis is most likely taking Mitt Romney's seat in the Senate in Utah. Unless something was catastrophically wrong, he's going to become the next senator. So we had both the sitting senator and then the most likely incoming senator. Yeah, I went to a fundraiser for John Curtis, for Congressman Curtis. Very impressive guy. Really, really, really. He actually used to be a Democrat, which was the interesting thing. He was a Democrat for 6 years, and so he's probably he will be one of the most liberal Republicans in the Senate. Very open-minded, very interesting guy. Mike Lee is not liberal. Mike Lee is very conservative, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, he talked a lot about saving the Fourth Amendment, keeping the government out of our bank accounts. Uh, he's potentially in line to be the attorney general if Trump wins. So really interesting. I mean, yeah, Tom Emmer gave a standing ovation conversation. Yeah, it was
Interesting.
really good event.
Very good.
There was also a health theme. So actually, I do have to credit you. The health theme was one of the highlights of the conference. So I tweeted about it here. We had a pickleball tournament, golf scramble, rock climbing, axe throwing.
Wow.
Say hosted this awesome thing called Say Slam, which was a basketball tournament.
So a bunch of
Kraken,
golf thing.
So Kraken hosted a pull-up bar competition, a hanging competition. We hosted a pickleball tournament where you could actually bet on the teams, which was a lot of fun. So there was an app built on Base where you could actually bet on the teams. Ton of fun. And then obviously we hosted Karate Combat, which was a really
Before we go there, I saw you hanging, like in the Kraken booth. I People were tagging me because I made a ridicule of myself in the Jumbo booth at Breakpoint, trying to impress people. As most people, when you try to impress people, you make a fool of yourself. At least I do. And I did like 22 pull-ups, which were not pull-ups. And then people were commenting on the forum. And then I subsequently posted 2 videos at the gym and the hotel. Like, okay, I did.
I saw those. Yeah.
So hopefully I redeemed some of my dignity that I just threw away and left at the conference. But you were just hanging. So
Yeah. I mean, mine weren't pull-ups. I didn't do a single pull-up. It was you can't compare pull-ups and hanging. So
I would be
pull-ups,
lying. I would be lying if I didn't say that I try to just for all shits and giggles at my gym, just hanging and be like,
what
all
was your
right,
hang time?
what am I gonna say?
I'm not gonna say. All right. So
Let's just say there were a couple of banger songs went by and I was still hanging.
sure. So no. I mean, pull-ups work your back and your shoulders and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
your back, and it's very tiring. So hanging, it's only about grip strength. So your shoulders don't give out, your forearms tighten up a little, but your grip strength really goes. So I got 1 minute 42.
Minute 42. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a beat. You know why my grip strength is so much higher, yeah?
Why?
Diamond hands, baby.
It's like what dumb comment is about to come. Yeah. So
You know it's coming. It's coming from
you
you.
know it's
So
coming. When I played baseball, we used to do these things. You just put your hand into a bowl of rice, into like a bucket of rice, and you just go like this. My grip strength is actually pretty good.
Nice.
Ben Lakoff, Bankless Ventures,
Sauna.
got 230, I think. Anyways, good. Yeah, good event. The hackathon was really good. I don't know. What did this guy say? Jesse Eckel. Day one of Permissionless is already my favorite favorite conference I've ever attended. No fluff. People are the top 1% of the space. Yeah, I mean, the content was really good. Like Jill said this too. Permissionless is undefeated is my favorite conference. I think if you were here's what happens at every conference in my experience, and I'm assuming it's same with you, is you have you have a very strong divide between the insiders and the outsiders. So the big conferences are actually really good for the outsiders because it's a place for them to go and start to meet the industry.
Yeah.
However, because of all the side events, the insiders go to the side events. So then
Mhm.
there are no insiders and executives and good investors and stuff at the actual conference. Permissionless felt like none of the outsiders, but all of the insiders in one place.
Yeah.
So, you know how you get stopped at conferences, you're like, "Oh god, I actually don't really want to have this conversation." There were there was none of that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So it was good.
Anything you do differently next year?
Um, I think basically so I really like Salt Lake. It was super clean. It was really nice to not have too many side events. I think it was too tough to get to. And I think it was too
Candidly, for me, it was a royal nightmare, and I had a meeting back home that I couldn't change, and it made it impossible. It was
it's
basically
just too
losing
tough.
like 3 days coming
Yeah,
from
it
work.
was just too tough for the Europeans. So we lost a lot of If you think that I bet we lost about 700 people from Europe because I was looking at our attendee demographics, and we probably lost about 700 people who usually come and would have come, and they would have been from Europe. Um,
Yep.
but we also lost a lot of people from New York, right? They're like, look, I just don't want to go to Salt Lake City. I did like
Even
how clean it was. That was nice. But as I think about permissionless, I don't think Blockworks wants to be in the big B2C event space anymore. I think that was a fun thing in 2022. I don't think that's our bread and butter, and I don't think we will be the world's best at that. I really think Token, even CoinDesk does a good job with consensus. Like I think we're going to leave the big events to the other players. There's also a business model risk of doing those big events. They actually spit off a lot of cash in bull markets, but they're really the only thing that can blow up your business at this point. Like the thing that could kill Blockworks is if we tried to host, let's say, a 20,000 person event in Vegas or something next year, which like Kane and Stani were trying to convince me to do,
Yeah.
uh, which sounds super fun and it would be pretty epic. If it didn't go well, it could kill the business. So I think what we'll end up doing with permissionless is we'll do it again. I think we'll do it in a place that's more accessible for people on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I think we'll lean into being a B2B, like permissionless, really what it was a B2B event for like crypto executives, crypto investors, the people that matter. Um, and the thing I'd do differently is like probably lean into make it a little more technical,
Yeah.
a little less like retail conversations, a little more technical, and try to get some
Yeah.
of the developers to come.
Yeah. Here's an idea. I've been listening to Founders Podcast. Keep saying this over and over again.
Mhm.
And in the earlier episodes a couple of years ago, it sounds like he organized these events, these founder events, where you would go in, he would rent out a particular venue. It was like a hotel, and you would not have a reason to leave this place. And I think there are versions of this, like Mountain Dow in Denver. I think they do like a ski thing. Then there's others in Tahoe. There's obviously Solana's doing like their Thailand thing, and there's Mega ETH is doing it in Thailand as well. Zulazu or Suzulu or something like that.
Mhm.
Might you be able to create like different tracks? Like imagine like a broad event, but like in certain days you have like a particular track, but like very intimate event where you do more of a curation, where you maybe even have to apply. But like the best part of conferences, why I keep going, is because of the spontaneity. Like sometimes I meet every so
Mhm.
often in these dinners or these events, it's someone says, "Hey, I want you to meet so and so." It's really like the random interactions that you meet in the big floor, for me at least.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Founders Podcast guy did that, and apparently, like to me, I was like, oh, I would go to that. Like he's like, you need to apply. All the founders apply, and then he just kind of he does a lot of the curation, and then sets up these events, like the Allen Conference. You know what I mean in tech,
For sure.
like Davos, I guess, but Davos is no longer cool. Um, I don't know, that for me
Yeah.
it would be really interesting. Like I would actually pay a premium if you curate people that you think I should meet that I haven't met.
Yeah. So
You could
the answer,
actually do something really interesting. The portfolio company of mine called Time.Fun, which is tokenizing time.
ton of fun. Yeah.
And I think it's just something cool about that. I don't know.
So the answer is yes. We're actually going to do this in 2025, and we did an experiment at Permissionless, and we didn't really market it or promote it or anything like that. But we actually went to Deer Valley for 3 days before Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We went to really nice resort called the Montage in Deer Valley.
Stay there is amazing.
Amazing resort, and ZK Sync. Basically, we got ZK. We basically Blockworks and ZK Sync co-hosted this thing, and from ZK Sync's side of things, we only got their like most executive people. So Nana, who's their president,
Mhm.
Alex, who is the co-founder of ZK Sync, and like two other people on their team. And then we invited just a world-class attendee list. So Samara Cohen, the CIO of BlackRock's ETF business, came. Rich, the head of crypto at Google. We just
Yeah.
invited like tier one
Create
founders.
a conference for deal making. There will be more deal making in crypto. I'm starting a private equity fund too, and deal making is going to be more and more
Yeah,
important. I want to go to an event where I can meet targets or meet potential Like I'm interacting more with like, okay, what's the infra stack? I want to talk to Coinbase Commerce. I want to
Hmm.
talk about the potential acquisition here that Stripe is acquiring. What is it?
Yeah,
Bridge.
bridge.
Like I want to like create a deal flow conference, so to
So
speak.
we're gonna do this. So our next conference is Digital Asset Summit in New York, DAS, which is like very buttoned up institutional event. I think we're either gonna plan. It's in March, so the Hamptons won't be good, but I think we'll probably do something upstate in.
Like George.
I don't know where it's gonna be. Maybe
That's
like
pretty good actually. Sweater. Like it's actually
Prob-
quiet.
I was thinking like Hudson Valley. Do
Okay.
like yeah, somewhere in Hudson Valley, probably an hour and a half north of New York.
Yeah.
And I think there's two ways to monetize it. We could either charge you like $10,000, and we've done this, or whatever.
Me.
Yeah, the person. Yeah, we've actually done this once before, which there was an event in 2021 called Bretton Woods that we hosted.
Oh, that's good.
It was so good.
For
We
people that
hosted.
don't get it, Bretton Woods agree. This is where we went off the dollar, the gold standard. Right.
Yeah.
It was
So in 1944, there was all the world's most powerful nations gathered at this secret conference in New Hampshire to basically rebuild the global monetary system. And we rented out the hotel where they hosted that secret conference in New Hampshire, and we called it Bretton Woods, the realignment. And we said the system is no longer working. We're gathering the best economists, macro analysts, and investors to basically say what is the future of money. And we charge people. We charge people a lot of money. It was 3,200, and we sold out the whole event. And then we got 4 sponsors. So we got blockchain.com, Copper, LMAX, and Luca. And it was a phenomenal event. We
Yeah.
did, hiking, we played golf, we did, fishing, we did like trail running, we did horseback riding. More deals came out of that event than like any of our events. However,
Yeah.
it was a total pain in the ass to host.
Could you crack into inviting people that are not interested in crypto? Like the challenge would be somehow it would be really nice to get some of the top executives or leaders of outside of crypto and
Yeah.
um, get them in, right? You have BlackRocks of the world, but I think that might be an opportunity over the next like 2-3 years, like you know, to get um, traditional banks, traditional tech companies to come in and be an opportunity to learn about the industry in an intimate setting with really high quality, very curated
Yeah, I think
conversation.
we'll do this. I think we'll do that. So I think we're gonna. I mean, I think we'll try to do this at Hudson in Hudson Valley
Wait, wait,
around.
wait, is that a picture of Mike?
Yeah,
Dude, Mike looks like Andy from The Office. Go back there. Mike, you listening? He's definitely gonna be listening because I've never met someone that listens to more podcasts. I don't know how he consumes it. Mike, you look like Andy from The Office.
that's a
And
hilarious
Halloween's coming up, so
picture.
you should dress up like Andy of The Office. He's just like perfect Andy from The Office right there.
That's a hilarious picture. Tough for Mike.
Tough look. Anyways, I love you,
Tough.
Mike.
Um, oh man, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna do this in Hudson Valley around DAS. If you are a sponsor and you want to, we want one company. I want one good brand like a Coinbase, an Aptos, a Solana, um,
Yeah.
someone like that. If you are a brand and wants to take a risk and do this, let me know.
Very
So
good. Talk about the advisory business.
yeah, the advisory business.
I don't know.
I mean, first off, check out this beautiful headline. Couldn't pay for that.
I'm going to read it. Crypto media darling Blockworks launches consulting business. This is semaphore.
Never thought someone would call us a darling. Very kind.
That's because I'm an investor in the business.
Yeah, yeah. Like crypto media darling, invested in by Santiago, launches consulting business. Yeah, we
Next.
launched Blockworks Advisory. So let's see if I can pull this up here. Yeah, so we launched our advisory business. The TLDR is that 2.5 years ago, we're coming up on our 7-year anniversary of Blockworks. First 5 years, it was just media and events. 2.5 years ago, May 2022, we launched our research business. The byproduct of the research business. So we have a team of 20 analysts. Our analysts have gotten more into the weeds than any analyst basically anyone in the industry. They're in all the governance forums. They're in the chats. They're talking to the builders. They're talking to the developers. They're talking to the investors. They're talking to the founders. They're seeing like the narrative changes. They really have started to understand what works and doesn't work when you're building a protocol. So the byproduct of that is that these teams like Athena and Arbitrum and Polygon and Optimism and Uniswap and Avalanche, different people inside different parts of those organizations. Sometimes it's the founder, sometimes it's the head of data, sometimes it's the governance lead. They started coming to our team and they said, "Hey, we need some help. This shit is hard. I have no clue how to build a protocol." And so we said, I'm sorry, we can't really help you with that. And that was like a year and a half ago. And then we started saying, you know what, maybe we can help you with that, but we're going to charge you for that. And so we started doing work with some of these protocols, and it went really well. And the NPS and just the reviews of these people was like through the roof. People said it's the most helpful outside consultants or outside team they've ever had, basically. And so what we started to do over the last couple of months is start to actually formalize this. Instead of saying, "Hey, let's go have one of our analysts, like throw them on Arbitrum for a month and like tell them to go help Arbitrum with this thing. Let's actually formalize this team." And the thesis, I don't know if you agree with this, Santi, or not, but I genuinely believe that protocols are the new institutions. Like protocols will be larger than any bank, any software company, any big company that is out there, any Web2 company. Protocols will eventually be bigger than them. So if you look at how big the consulting industry is, there's a massive need for basically outside information, and to base things that can like hack growth at your company or solve a problem. And what's going to happen as these protocols grow is you can't go to a BCG, you can't go to an Accenture, you can't go to a McKinsey, right? For this help, you can't go to Deloitte. If you go to BCG and you're like, "Hey, I'm designing an incentive program to bring TVL into my protocol," BCG looks at you like you're crazy. You go to us and we're like, "Oh my God, we've studied the last 30 incentive programs. I know exactly what works and what doesn't work. We've got this idea on how you can make an incentive program and do all this stuff. Let's work together on that." So that's the advisory business. So there's a couple of buckets that we do. There's kind of like pre-TGE work, which is like foundation launch partner, figuring out like what is the right structure for like labs, foundation, launching governance, all that kind of stuff. There's more like go to market help. So what are your distribution channels? Like how do you tap into like this network of marketing partners? There's economic design, like fee optimization, risk parameters, incentive design. There's managing and running a DAO, like grants programs, co-authoring critical proposals, things like that. There's dashboards, which is basically helping them build like a robust data ecosystem, which we think is really important. And then there's some help with like finance and treasury management. So yeah, that's the biz. We've launched a lot of businesses at Blockworks. We've never had so much inbound interest from one single launch. So yeah, if you would like to work on this team, hit me up. We need some help.
Yeah. What how do you think about advisory can mean a lot of things. Where have you seen most of the protocols appreciate an outside perspective? Where do you think they need the most amount of help?
There's like four timelines in a protocol, we think. So there's foundation launch. This is I met a lot of people at Permissionless. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm launching a token in like 6 months. I'm a founder, right? I've built something in Web2. I have no clue how to do like a labs business, foundation, all that kind of stuff. All right. So that's foundation launch. The second is pre-TGE. This is in like the months leading up. Like, how should you talk about your token? What is the marketing? What is the DAO structure, the token structure, the distribution mechanisms? Why do people get, kind of roasted at the stake for tokens, and other people love their token? How do you do a successful token launch? Then there's post TGE, DAO management, data services, onboarding new service providers, risk management, incentive programs, grants programs, all that kind of stuff. And then there's like steady state, which is making sure you have a robust set of service providers, well-defined DAO processes, strong brand awareness, like a really good flywheel around marketing and customer acquisition. So yeah, those are the 4 buckets that we think people will need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Um,
and then we thought about this a lot because from a business model perspective, consulting, I mean, even you as an investor, actually, I'd be really curious to get your take as an investor in Blockworks when you see something like this. The enterprise value of a consulting business. Here's our thesis, and I'm curious what you think. The enterprise value of a consulting business sucks, right? They might trade for like 1 times revenue or 2 times revenue or something like
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? You're not building this multi-billion-dollar like exitable thing from a consulting business, probably, maybe. However, what this allows us to do is actually a similar thing that events allows us to do, which is it spits off a lot of cash flow. It's a very high margin business. And so with this, if you look at a lot of our competitors, I won't name names, but a lot of the data and research platforms, they're stuck on this VC hamster wheel where they just have to keep raising every 18 months. And Mike and I have always believed, we've only raised 1 outside venture round in 7 years. We've always believed that like the the venture model is actually pretty warped and that most companies should try to get to profitability within a couple of years. And you want to build a self-sustaining business. And so advisory helps us build this self-sustaining business where it spits off a bunch of cash and we can then invest that cash into building the data and research business, so that we don't have to raise another round, dilute employees, dilute
Mm.
you as an investor. So
Yeah.
yeah, curious what you think of that.
I mean, certainly when I first looked at your business without disclosing anything, the primary question for me is as you alluded to earlier, the event business is very volatile, especially in this industry. It could, and so the multiple net's quite low. But it serves and complements your business. Like it's sort of like a necessary evil, so to speak. Sometimes businesses have these kind of captive funnels, so to speak. I think said differently, like I don't think you ever give up the events business if you're not running it at a loss. It's fine. Um, you want to, and then when we talked about, see, you guys rolled out the research platform. That's really nice. Over time, the business becomes more of a recurring revenue business. Consulting, I think, is again one of those business lines that, because you're in a position where you sort of start becoming a platform, like someone will do it, you might as well capitalize it because you have that distribution already, and people are already coming to your platform for research, and they're already coming for news, and they're going to your events, and so logically, why wouldn't you expand into
Yeah,
this, right? And certainly, obviously, consulting doesn't have as much of a like multiple as like a pure research subscription, like a recurring revenue, but it moves you closer to a higher margin business, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's human capital intensive. Um, but if you're already, again, if I think it's a logical transition, if you're already doing a lot of the research and you have good analysts, then why not capitalize right on the logical subsequent step is just become, really help these protocols do it, right?
yeah,
And I would agree with you. There is a need to help a lot of these businesses as they scale and think about opportunities, or have a partner that is kind of um, can objectively tell them things that they should do, best practices, opportunities. So I think I
yeah,
mean, my perspective, like I think I can understand why you're moving in this direction.
yeah. So yeah, we're excited. I mean, McKinsey does 10 to 12 billion in top line a year, EBITDA, assuming like a what 20 to 25% EBITDA
That's like
margins.
it's like a 20-30% margin business.
Yeah, so that's 2 to 3 billion a year. BCG I've heard is like 8 to 10 billion top line. So
Mhm.
that's what 20 to 25% is
I think
1.6
it's also
to
the
2.5.
intangibles that it does to your brand and your business are also hard to quantify, right? I mean, I guess it just further solidifies your position in the space as um, a trusted partner across a number of,
Right.
it just you become. I mean, Bloomberg doesn't have a consulting business, I think, um, but but I think you're not just Bloomberg, in my opinion. Like there's more opportunities to like
Yeah.
capture a lot of the white space and opportunity in crypto.
And it will help our SaaS business too. Like Morgan Stanley comes to us
Mhm.
using not them as a real example, but for example, Morgan Stanley comes to us and says, "Hey, look, we're pushing into crypto. We need it. We need you guys to figure out like the best strategies for us." We say, "Great. By the way, buy 50 seats to the
Yeah,
platform."
the upsell opportunity is great, right? If you're already again, it widens your funnel,
Hmm.
and you can acquire more users that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In an
very
ideal world, you don't necessarily have to run a lot of these but for instance, every software company has professional services, some more than others. And as long as you're
yeah,
not running at a cost or like as long as you're not running it at a huge loss, it is a drag on margin, but it's a necessary component to grow and acquire and grow the top line, right? ARR.
yeah.
So yeah.
So.
Very good, man. Well, I'm excited about that.
Scale is the blockchain that is simply built different. Let's face it, other L1 networks have costly transaction fees that increase as the network gets busier. Scale has solved this problem with a gas-free, scalable infrastructure where users never pay gas fees. Scale was awarded the most active gaming chain in 2023 by CoinGecko and hosts 5 of the top 25 games on DApp Radar. You should definitely check out Scale. I was using it the other day. It really is incredible to use. That's Scale, spelled with a K. Hit the link in the show notes or head on over to skale.space/ecosystem to get started today. Let's face it, building on crowded L1s or expensive L2s is just not going to unlock the next generation of applications in crypto. That's where super containers come in, offering a completely new solution that transforms your development control. Imagine dedicated, customizable app spaces running on Supra's 500 KTPS layer 1 blockchain. You get complete control over gas tokens and fees with the freedom to use your own token, create local fee markets, or even go gasless. Scale on demand and build with better customization than app chains, all at a fraction of the cost. Plus, with multi-VM compatibility, you can easily deploy your EVM, Move, and SVM smart contracts. It's time to rescue your projects from the costs, complexities, and fragmentation of traditional solutions. Get notified when super containers are ready for builders at super.com/containers. Uniswap Wallet is designed to easily manage, store, and swap your crypto all in one place. Access thousands of tokens across Ethereum and 10 plus chains, including Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, and more. Uniswap's wallet has built-in MEV protection and zero gas fees with swaps that go through Uniswap X. You can also swap with the peace of mind that the code is completely open source and independently audited. Download it today. It's available on Chrome, iOS, and Android. How's your private equity biz?
Well, I'm in Amsterdam. There's a conference organized here by one of the larger family fund of funds in Europe. They're an investor in a number of crypto funds, and so I was here, kind of socialize the idea. I took this as an opportunity to just socialize the idea with a few people in person and see their reaction. Of a lot of them had heard about it just because I've been teasing about it on, just I posted about it on Twitter, and talked about it here in the prior episode. Uh, People seem to like the idea, but they can tell you they like to your face. And it's
Yeah.
nothing quite like raising. I don't know. I just want to get also an understanding of the fundraising environment and whatnot. So, um,
I mean,
yeah.
people have been reaching out to me. Oh, I totally forgot to respond to this guy. Whoops. Someone, actually, multiple people are trying to invest in it. Someone's like, so I don't know if you're taking outside money,
I
but
think I've been very focused on putting together materials, doing a lot of like I think of the name of the fund will make a lot of sense when I disclose it, but I put myself in a position of what would I need to see to invest in this fund? And for me, it's very clear. Um, I want to see actionable opportunities, and there's nothing quite like going to someone and say, "I've identified 2 or 3 very tangible, concrete, immediate opportunities to put the money to work." I think the timing is very right. I think we're at a point where infrastructure is there. you could look at Stripe acquiring Bridge as an example, like this stablecoin API, right? I mean, these businesses are going to be transformed. And over the last couple of weeks, like I've met with like the CEO of Apollo. I saw the CEO of Vista Equity, and I'm like, well, what do they have that I don't want to replicate? I never want to compete against them. But what do I have that they don't? And to me, it's like they don't appreciate how crypto can transform. In their mind, crypto is a token. It's like a Bitcoin. They don't really appreciate how they can transform their businesses. And I was talking to a guy, an operating partner at KKR yesterday, and he's like, I love crypto, but it's hard to convince these executives and the companies that we're acquiring how they could really use it. But I really want to convince them, like, okay. And then you go talk to a lot of, yesterday there was mostly crypto funds. And again, they're trying to just invest in, as I do, companies that are building, technology that would eventually be used by these companies. But I think at that intersection, I understand, being an investor in a lot of the kind of leading crypto companies and then haven't done private equity before. I just I think the biggest opportunity, and we're at a point where we need to go out to the real world and actually just you need to have control of these businesses to transform them. That is abundantly clear to me. And you go even
Mm.
talk to a lot of the major companies in the space, the Ripples, the Coinbase Commerces of the world. They're like, the tech is kind of there, but no one cares. Like it's hard to convince a company. I'm like, yeah, it's either a family run business or it's too big and they don't necessarily care to trim a lot of the fat.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited about it. And so I've been doing a lot of work. I haven't formally gone out and pitched it to anyone, but I will soon.
Yeah.
I will soon.
I mean, you've got the winds at your sail, right? You've got
I would.
Imran had this tweet that I thought was a good one, which is with all the chess pieces being moved by Stripe, Coinbase, Circle, Tether, and many others, I'd be remiss not to say that 2025 is our year. And he was making a point that crypto is going to achieve global adoption, et cetera, et cetera. But I was thinking about your private equity tweet or your private equity idea in light of this, which is when companies get pitched by someone to do something, they don't need to do anything because they're big. They're like when Fortune 500s do in big companies. They actually don't need to do anything because
Mhm.
they're the incumbents. But when they feel when two things happen, they are forced to take action. One is they feel a lot of pressure by upstarts who are starting to eat into their business. That's
Mhm.
not actually happening right now. But the other is when people like Stripe, their existing partners start bringing them things.
Yep.
So when a stablecoin provider brings LVMH, says, "Look, let's onboard you onto stablecoins." They say, "Why would we do that?" When you know Audion or Stripe says, "Let's onboard you onto stablecoins," they say, "Oh, okay. If our existing payment processor is doing it, sure,
Yeah.
that works."
Yeah. We're if you believe in crypto, then you fast forward, and then you believe in a world where most businesses will use a lot of this infrastructure, and it might not be very visible to the end consumer, but they will use it. Payments rails. Some things are more visible than others. NFTs for customer loyalty engagement. Blackbirds of the world for restaurant management and loyalty programs. LVMH is sort of teased with NFTs, digital twins. So some crypto elements are more visible than others. I don't think you need to underwrite a token. I'm not actually not underwriting a token for this transformation, but the point is, if you believe it and you're investing in crypto, then you're here because you believe that this is going to become mainstream, and it's going to, like the internet, this is a continuation of the internet, like a digitization of businesses, and it will make them more efficient. So that might take 10 years, might take 15, 20 years. And so if you invert and you say, well, how can I compress that? Because the tech is there in many ways. Well, for me, this is a strategy. You go and buy a business and you roll this out. And I'm not looking to buy small businesses. I want to buy medium or large businesses. And it might, like, the first couple of ones might not be like multi-billion-dollar businesses, but I generally think that that's where the real opportunity is, right? Like you go and trim fat, and every basis point counts.
Yeah.
And it's a massive transformation. Imagine it's like removing. I said in the episode with Jack in Singapore that went out this week. It's the way I think about it is a lot of these organizations are bloated. They have a good product, they have a lot of really good distribution, but along that, think about those pipes, right? Along that continuum of go to market or just servicing customers, and within the organization, there's friction points. All you need to do is go in, change the pipe, and just let the water flow through it. And I'm looking to buy good businesses and make them great again by removing friction points that haven't been, by the way, when you think about how competitive private equity is as an asset class, financial engineering doesn't work, right, in a normalized rate environment. But a lot of these operators, like a lot of these funds, have like massive consulting arms that are pretty good operators and they understand how to make these transformations. But there are areas where they just haven't, because the tech's not there, you just haven't been able to streamline. Um, but crypto, that's like the very clear areas of friction points. Crypto does unlock that friction. Payment processing
Yeah.
is the immediate one. Customer retention and loyalty, like advertising rates have gone up dramatically over the last 10 years. It's a monopoly, right? You need to advertise on Meta, Google, Amazon, or TikTok. CPMs have gone through the roof. So we're spending more time online, but it's harder to capture attention, acquire and retain customers. There's a better way to do that, especially for younger cohorts that have higher LTV.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think I'm gonna do this. If it's how they're gonna, as I told people yesterday, how much you're looking to raise. I'm like, hold that thought. I don't want to set the expectation. I don't want to. Ideally, have a number in mind. If I if I can't get there, I'll just front my own money and just do this case study. But what does success look like for me? Success looks like for me, and that I would want to maybe buy one or two companies and have that be a huge win. It becomes a case study at HBS or for anywhere, but for HBS, and then everyone else starts doing it, and then this industry goes from 1 trillion to 30 trillion. Well,
I love it.
I would, Pranav, as I like to quote Pranav time and time again, we were on the way to Singapore, to the airport, and he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about like doing this exercise of writing your obituary?" I'm like, "Well, this is kind of a weird question to ask when we're about to board a 12
Oh,
flight."
someone brought that up recently. Where did I hear that?
I think maybe Pranav said it to you,
Yeah.
and I said, "No, but it's a really good exercise." And I said, "I have 12 hours to think about that." And in that, I was already thinking about this, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna there's appetite for this strategy in the market. It's sort of new, but I would not forgive myself if I didn't take a hard run at this and tried it if I'm in my deathbed, whenever that may happen. And I think that's the
Yeah.
opportunity, and I'm gonna go hard at it. And if it doesn't work, okay, people don't like it, fine. I'll put my own money in it.
Uh,
I won't regret it. It's like the biggest
you,
errors of
yeah, yeah.
not of commission. So if I don't do this, I'm gonna regret it.
Yeah, it's what Bezos's regret minimization thing. It's like make decisions based on what you will not regret,
So,
or
anyways, I'll take this
to
opportunity to say
minimize
I
your
am
regret.
looking. I'm gonna need a team. I'm gonna need um, people that really understand the tech, how to implement it. Perhaps people that have worked at Coinbase Commerce or have experience there, or people at Bridge, or people.
I have the perfect guy for you.
So this is a call to action. If this sounds interesting to you, please reach out because I'm gonna need smarter people to execute on the strategy. So I'm looking for that.
Um, yeah, we interviewed. Actually, obviously you couldn't make it, but yesterday interviewed Antonio from DYDX about his return to DYDX,
Oh yeah.
and it was one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had, I think, on Empire, because we didn't talk about DYDX once. We just talked. You would have loved the episode, actually.
Hmm.
We just talked about risk taking in life and what the life of a founder is actually like, and why he stepped down, and just how his reflections over the last 5 months went, and how it's given him a different perspective on life. And one of those things, to your point, was about risk taking, and people think that people should take way more risk in their life than they are currently taking, because it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
On that point, I really like your perspective as a founder, because I think that you've gone pretty far out on the risk spectrum. As you've like to said, you bought crypto credit cards, you were living
Yeah.
on, canned beans and sardines, like, the full founder kind of arc archetype. When you say people, like, when you say take risks, how do you think about that? And are there might you be able to take a lot of risk in one dimension, but actually no risk in one part of your life? Does it mean, like, because oftentimes when we say you ought to take risk, people might say, it's like all encompassing. But how do,
Mm.
how do you actually think about that? Because I think you could perhaps may take a risk in one area of your life, but not on another, to give you some stability and actually put you in a position of strength. Like, because I think listeners would probably appreciate that. I don't know if you've thought about, like, how in your life and in your company and your personal life and just the things that you do, like, how does the risk manifest itself, and how do you actually, like, go about this, like, taking a lot of risk, right?
It's a really interesting question. I'm thinking about that.
And as you think
I,
about that, a lot of times people say, Yana, you're in a great position right now because you have now, your business has grown a lot. It's de-risked. But maybe the answer to that is no, we're actually taking more risk in one particular area because, like, as I look at, since over the last couple of years, you've
yeah.
actually, I would argue, maybe you've taken even more risk in particular areas
I
because
mean,
you
the
have
riskiest thing we
vision.
did that people maybe didn't saw as success, but was risky, was raising outside money, right? Because Mike and I could have just run the business as a bootstrap business. I mean, we're doing 8 figures in revenue while bootstrapping it and spitting off a boatload of cash. And so we could have just probably done that and either just, I mean, we weren't doing
Looks like
distributions.
a lifestyle business, right?
So the easy thing to do would have been take distributions and then maybe one day sell it for like, I don't know, 100 million, like 50 or 100 or something like that. Like that would, and that'd be like a life changing, amazing outcome. The risky thing was taking outside capital because now you have a obligation to outside investors. But to go back to your other question, there are different types of risk. I've actually really never thought about it like this because I consider
For
myself to
instance,
be
if you invert, the name of my fund is inversion capital because you always invert.
it's inversion. Yeah, that's
Inversion
interesting.
capital. So,
I
okay, I'm
like
going to
that.
say it. You always want to
I
invert.
hope you've got the domain and trademark
I
and
got
stuff.
it. I got it. I got it. I got it.
Okay, okay, okay.
All the squatters out there. I got it. I
Yeah,
got
I
it.
got it. Got it. Get the ENS too. A lot of ENS squatters out there. I guess you would get the dot sol, but yeah. Okay, so there are different
But
types
the
of.
question on that point, couldn't you invert and you say, not taking money and not getting more dry powder resources is a bigger risk because you have the opportunity to really capitalize on this market from the position of strength as other media businesses are going away. So the bigger risk, more invisible one, is not going hard enough to capture the market. When you think about not raising money, you could just run
So
this, the scale and the growth looks like this. Raising money looks like that. And that's a
So
risk not
oddly
captured.
enough, I think it has nothing to do with expected value and EV and like risk reward. For me, the biggest risk in my life is losing motivation in something. And I know that about myself because if I am really motivated by something and really passionate and curious, in the least, going to try to say this in the least egotistical way, I genuinely think I can be the best in the world at it and outcompete anybody else. If I am not passionate about it and I don't really care, I am god awful at it. So I think there's a dispersion, right? Um, let's say there's a spectrum of like there's the x axis, and then there's like or let's say there's the y axis here. Anyways, I'll actually people are listening on podcasts. I won't show anything with my hands, but like let's say there's a spectrum, and yeah, boom, 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 fuck around, find out.
Yeah, you read my mind.
I think I am like on output, like way above the average when I'm passionate about something. But I actually think I'm way below the average at output and
Mhm.
execution when I'm not passionate. Whereas if
Uh-huh.
you take someone who's like working a 9 to 5, maybe they work in banking, like honestly, if they're super passionate or they're not passionate, like they can kind of just get the shit done. That's
Yeah.
not how my brain works. So, maybe our investors won't like to hear this. I wasn't thinking about EV. when we did our raise. Mike and I weren't thinking about EV or anything because Mike is the exact same way, almost even more than I am. We were thinking about, will this make the next 5 years of our life more fun or less fun?
Right.
And the challenge is fun. So the risk was losing motivation in just this boring bootstrap business. Like that was the risk in my mind.
And do you feel like you need to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to reignite and keep you hard at the full intensity?
Yeah, I
Sometimes
do.
I do that. I
Yeah,
some
I do.
I wanna
I
constantly,
do.
like, as I think about it, just I never felt it until very recently that I'm just bored, and I had it sort of just one day, I was like, I have this growing desire to get out of, like, it just the investing side of it just became, I love it, but it's I gotta do more.
So you
Um, and
you
I
you love David Senra. Like the if you listen to these founders, the founder stories, there's a theme, which is as soon as a founder feels like they've made it, like a real if like one
yeah,
of the
it's
differences between a founder and like a quote normal person is like once you feel like you've made it, or once you feel like you've like achieved the top of the mountain, normal person's like, let's go. I'm
yeah,
chilling. I'm chilling. I'm taking my vacation. I'm chilling. I get to work 9 to 5. Other people think, "W- where can I inflict more pain?
yeah.
Where? How can I push?
Is this inflicting pain? He talks about pain a lot.
I mean, Blockworks is max pain. Like there is like the running a company. I mean, people should listen. We've got Antonio episode coming out on Tuesday. This is the
I've heard
hardest
you say,
thing
like,
I
every
will
day
ever
is
do.
yeah.
There is a new problem every day that I think if I wasn't running a company would feel like the hardest problem I'd ever encountered.
So would you describe yourself as a maniacal masochist?
With work, I mean, maybe it seems like it, but
Was
like,
it
but
with work? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
this
Yeah.
is yeah, with work, yeah. But this is your original question
People are,
of
like, referencing the scene of Billions.
different layers of. You said different layers of risk. Maybe it's different levels of masochism, but different layers of risk. Like there's financial risk. Now that I think about it, there's financial risk. There's like strategic risk.
Mhm,
There's actually in crypto, there's a lot of compliance and regulatory risk.
mhm,
There's there's like credit risk, like how much like debt, like how comfortable are you being levered up financially? There's there's probably political risk. There's reputational risk.
yeah,
Like I'm not very comfortable with reputational
yeah.
risk. Like when I saw
So,
what Selkis was doing,
yeah, on that spectrum, yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, which ones are you most really comfortable taking risk? Which ones you're totally risk averse? So you said reputation, absolutely not, and I agree with you, because that puts you out of the game.
yeah, like my like I okay, so talking about Selkis for a second, using this as an example, I know people think he's like gone off the deep end or whatever and all this stuff. I actually have I disagree with him on so many things. I do have a layer of like a pretty deep layer of respect for him because I could never do what he's doing, which is risk my entire reputation on something that, yeah, I just could never risk it. Maybe I could one day when I'm older. I mean, he's older. Maybe that's something you learn as you get older. But at this point, I'm not willing to risk my entire reputation. Um, and maybe it's because I care too much about what other people think about me. I don't really know. I haven't really done that internal work to learn why I don't want to take that reputational risk. But like other things like financial risk, like if I didn't have a if I wasn't married, 100% of my assets would be in crypto. Like I would have
Mhm,
no 401k. I would own no stocks except for Coinbase stock. I would be 100% in crypto because when crypto goes down 90%, like I genuinely don't feel 1% of like, oh my God, this sucks. I have zero feeling of that. So financial risk,
mhm,
and actually that's a difference. In my personal life, financial risk, totally fine. Business wise, I don't love financial risk. Um,
yeah,
like we actually run Blockworks pretty conservatively, I'd say,
yeah,
financially.
yeah. I think on a couple of things that you said, reputation risk. I think there are types of like, you never control how people individually might perceive you, but I do think you always understand. that if you're compromising or doing things that are questionable from a principle value standpoint, in the aggregate, that can really jeopardize your in your integrity and then therefore your reputation. But it's inside out, as opposed to doing things that, I don't think you ever want to be a people pleaser. As a founder, you do things that inherently are going to be are not going to be necessarily consensus. And anytime I think you go closer to the truth, it triggers people, and you
Hmm.
never, but I wouldn't call that reputational risk. Reputational risk is, I think, one of those things where you just know when you see it. It's like, this is questionable behavior. This is against core values, ethics. You could like discuss all day long what are those, but I think people normally have a good standard of what that is. If you're hurting people, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing things that are like, you know, you could argue that a lot, maybe some people during the continuum of the last 10 years thought that you had a reputational risk. Cryptos had reputational risk because people think that crypto's a
I
scam.
mean,
And
when we launched in 2017, I was incessantly posting on LinkedIn because I didn't have a Twitter then, or I wasn't like active on it. And people, I was still working at my old company, SciSense. I was posting about back then it was like blockchain every day on LinkedIn.
Mm,
And my boss was like, sat me down. He's like, "You're embarrassing yourself.
right.
You're actually," it was my boss, not my boss. He was very supportive. My boss's boss. He's like, "You're embarrassing yourself, and you're starting to embarrass the
The
company."
company.
And I had friends from college being like, "Dude, you got to stop posting on LinkedIn. Cut it out, man. Like, shit's embarrassing. Like, don't be posting on LinkedIn
Yeah.
every day." Um, I guess that was reputational risk. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. It's something to think about. Like,
There's a
I
guy, Christian Angermeyer, who started um, a lot of very successful things, but Compass is one of them. They're a psilocybin company.
oh,
Billionaire investor from Germany. He's uh, yeah, he kind of runs a holding company called, I think it's Aperion. But yeah, uh, billionaire investor out of Germany. He he talks about this nuance between risk in business and risk in personal life. And so in risk in business, he is one of the biggest risk takers I've ever met. Like, he got deep into crypto before most people were comfortable with it and allocated in size. He started he started the first publicly traded psilocybin company, which was a
wow.
big both reputational risk and business risk at the time.
Mhm.
Put hundreds of millions into that company. Personally, he he has never drank. He like doesn't even like get really like getting on planes. He will never do like he doesn't ski because he's worried about like the risk. I think it's skiing or something like that. He
Oh,
is he won't go in sports cars, right? Like, he is so worried about the one thing that you can't get back. He's like, you can get back money.
you can't
You
get
only got
back.
one shot at life. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I definitely think that's a really good way to put it. Um,
Should we talk about any crypto stuff? Like
just thinking about that, like,
you, there are two things, and I have to jump in a few minutes, but
yeah,
one was Unichain
right.
pulled forward the app chain narrative. And it's kind of the only thing that people can talk about right now on Twitter is like every app's going to get a chain.
Mm,
And I tweeted this thing the other day or yesterday about that, which we can talk about. And then Avalanche's off the grid game. So this grid called Off the Grid has brought in 7 million wallets in the past, I think, week or two.
right.
So those were the two biggest news stories of the week, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing to add there. Obviously, I think it would be really interesting to see how Avalanche's perception changes, how the narrative on gaming changes, because it's been pretty out of favor. People just been critical of it because of play to earn, but clearly the traction's been. These are the new, as we talked about it before, and this is actually a game and it's fun, and so it'd be really interesting to see how that might change the entire meta around just gaming as a
Yeah.
category in crypto and what that does for other projects. The other thing is, quite interesting. And full disclosure, I do have a position in Goat. It's just been this uh, not this coin that Mark Andreessen gave a 50K grant to this guy Andrew, I believe, and then this AI agent then went out and bought this particular meme coin called Goat, and it's been tweeting about it like nonstop, and it's sort of become. I find it quite interesting, like this Truth Terminal account.
Is it
And
this, Santi?
no, it's Goat, just Goat, not Goat Trading, GOAT. And it went from like 40 million to like now like 400 million in the span of a week. I think this AI agent put in like $5,000 or something like that, and now it's like it probably becomes the first millionaire AI bot millionaire.
Oh, this
If,
thing. Yeah. This was on the back of Andreessen saying I'm putting 50K into
but
a.
he, but he did that. I think my understanding is he gave that grant to this
Holy shit.
the
It's up
grant.
50% today?
Yeah, it's sort of gone off. It's I it's gone off. People are shilling about it and talking about it, but I think the account Truth Terminal. So if you go on Twitter, Truth Terminal is really interesting because it's the AI. It's like the AI tweeting about this stuff, and it's kind of a fascinating experiment. Uh, I think what I'm most interested
This
in
one?
is like, yes, Truth Terminal. Yeah, exactly. So
Wait, so let me ask you this because I saw the Mark Andreessen, like the day he tweeted that, I saw this. I was like, that experiment. I saw this whole Truth Terminal and Goat thing and stuff like that. When did you decide to put money in to this?
uh, I think it was last week. Someone brought it to my attention, and I looked at it,
Was
and
it
I
the
said,
tweet that was like, so, oh my God, they've made like 150K? Like there was that.
"No, it was the idea of an AI." Like at the time, I was under the impression that it was like launched by the AI agent. Like basically, the narrative back then, which has changed, was the TLDR was Mark Andreessen gave 50K grant to this AI
Oh my
agent.
God, look at what they're Sorry, go ahead.
So it gave 50,000 USD equivalent Bitcoin to this agent, and it said, "Go do stuff." And what it decided to do was to launch a meme coin, and then optimize, like just run through it. It turns out that it didn't launch the meme coin, as I understand it. It actually bought it. It bought this thing called Goat, and Goat is actually, I wouldn't recommend you going and googling, but it sort of makes reference to this meme Goatsy from the like early '90s, like early internet culture. Don't for it. But I found that interesting. It's like, okay, this is probably one of the first experiments where an AI agent is just deciding what to do, and it's just really interesting to like. I decided to buy it just to pay attention to like how it was going to interact, and I tweeted today like, what happens if like how does the truth terminal of truths like take in feedback from users, because now everyone's like tweeting about to terminal of truths like, hey, you should look at this other meme coins, or you should buy this or that, and I'm like really curious to see how it takes in feedback, how it behaves, like what happens if it's sitting on a huge position of Goat. Like what happens once it reaches a million? Like does it dump on humans? Does it double down? Does it sell? What does it do after? Like I don't know, it's like a pretty fascinating evolution. I think the LLM is trained on like 4chan
I
and
mean,
Reddit.
look at these tweets. I'm not even going to read these out loud, but
I don't
oh
know,
shit. Whoops.
it's kind of like the true sci-fi in real time. And what's quite interesting is the financialization component of it. Like how does a bot like just behave as it makes more money? Like what does it do?
So your strategy here, none of this is financial advice, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. Do you hold,
Please don't go and buy, like just to do your own research, like
yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
ethical. Like
Do
I'm not
you,
endorsing this in any way. I
how
do
do
own
you know when to sell something like this? Is it a gut feel?
it. Yeah. Like I size it in a way where if it goes to zero, it doesn't matter. I don't like obviously losing money, but it's an experiment. And I think I always want to make it clear in my brain of what is an experiment and what is like I'm not willing to lose on. Like I'm not willing to lose in size, but I sized it in a way where it's like, all right, this is an experiment. I don't think it's going to be the last one. I think it's a interesting sector of them and quite differentiated in the meme coin category overall. There's like animal coins, which are like obviously tried and true, and people are doing more experiments here. They feel very incremental, whether it's a hippo coin or another cat coin or another dog coin.
But what it's driving to is the fact that AI agents will be the biggest consumers on chain.
Correct. It's like in real time, I'm actually really, and that to me felt very differentiated.
Yeah.
Of
Like,
course, I sort of like bought and then do more research later. Buy now and do more research later. But I
I
need to
went
put some money on the line to pay attention to it.
I went to yeah, I feel the same way. Put money into things to pay attention
Yeah.
to it. I went to the Parify LP day on Tuesday.
How was that?
Um, it was great. It was all like very off the record, so just because it's all their LPs are there and stuff like that. So I don't want to say can't say too much about it, but they did these big predictions for 2030, and a lot of the things were they talked a lot about AI making up a lot of the on-chain activity. That's
Yeah.
what I'd say.
Well, so couple of open questions that I have. How does this bot's behavior change as people try to influence its behavior? There's this like really interesting psychological experiment called the Ash conformity experiment, which is this. They show like three different lines. They show people three different lines, and they hire these fake people in the experiment, and they tell you which line is the biggest. I think they show you one line, and then they show you three different options, like which line matches the length of the line that I'm showing you here. There's obviously clearly one that is exactly the same, but the other paid actors show it the wrong one,
Mm,
and 33% of respondents, like it's so obvious, but 33% of respondents are not willing to go against the consensus, and they
mm,
choose the wrong one. But as soon as someone detracts and says the truth, like they go back to it. Whereas like normally in an experiment without actors, 1% of people like would just get it wrong because it just maybe have visually impaired. Um, so again, like you're already seeing now, like a lot of these KOLs are trying to like influence the bot, and the bot's
the
like fuck off.
not fuck off, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's like really seeing how the bot goes through this experiment. One
I gotta
last thing.
go. Go ahead.
What happened? The other is like obviously AI coins like Taos and the world like are in my as I see them like also memes.
Yeah,
Uh, what happens to that, and how does the meta shift?
for next time.
For next time, ladies and gentlemen, please do your own research. And again, I'm not
Yeah.
you know not endorsing this in any way, shape, or form.
All right. Enjoy Amsterdam, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Take
See you,
care.
everyone. Hey everyone, thanks for watching today's episode. Just wanted to quickly thank today's title sponsor, Skale. Skale really is one of the best chain experiences out there today, and I've used so many different chains. There's a reason they are gaining so much adoption in both gaming and AI use cases. Hit the link in the show notes to explore the Skale ecosystem.